Another important, very, very important part A question or 4 mark question, that is referred as process states. What might be the various states of a process when we are considering computer system? Okay. So first let me give the different states, then we will go for the explanation. Process state first is new, a process that is created newly. Created newly means what? You are typing the program, you are storing in the memory, and when CPU is free, you are executing the program. At the time of executing, it is considered as process. That is what we are referring as process has been created. Ready. Ready for what? Ready for execution. Okay. So why this word comes ready for execution? Suppose you consider 10 processes are there in the main memory, but processor can allocate or processor can take only one process at a time, but I am having 10 process. So for example, it is if you are taking first process, remaining 9 processes are ready to run, but the CPU is not available. Okay, they are ready to run, but the CPU is not available. If CPU is available, that can be executed. That is ready state. Third one is running state. Okay. The running means what? The process now in CPU. So process created in secondary storage. Process is ready in main memory. Process is running in CPU. Then waiting state. Okay. One small example I want to tell. Suppose you consider your process is in execution. At that time, the process requires 100 data to be printed on the. At the time of printing 100 data, CPU will not in action because the CPU has processed and produced 100 data as output. So then output is available in main memory. So data will be received by the printer from main memory only. Okay, from main memory only data will be received by the printer. Okay, now the action between main memory and printer only, CPU is not working. CPU will sit idle. That is not allowed. So what I have to do? I have to allocate other process, but already one process is in execution. What we have to do? Move the particular process in wait state and allocate a new process to the CPU. Okay, why I have moved to wait state? Because it is just printing. CPU is not having any work. So it is moved to the waiting state. Okay, when it will come back, once all IO is completed, it will come back to ready state, and from ready state, once CPU is free, it will come to CPU. And the last one terminated. Successful completion of the process or abnormal termination of the process. We will see with the diagrammatic representation. Okay, listen carefully. First, process created means newly created process. This is what we are referring as new process. Okay. Once the process is created, operating system will check whether it is a legal process or not, or whether the process can be executed or not, or whether the process is having all the required resources is available or not, like that. So many checks will be done by the operating system. Once all check is passed, then only it will be admitted. So a process is created newly, that is new process. Once the process is legally okay, or once the operating system feels that it can be considered, that will be moved to ready state. Okay, this ready state is main memory. A process will be in main memory as ready state. Ready state means what? Once the CPU is free, this process is eligible to get the CPU. That is admitted. Okay. Now from ready state, only possibility is going to running state. Okay, only possibility is going to running state. Running means what? Now it will move to CPU. So CPU will accept process only from main memory. Okay, CPU will accept process only from main memory, nothing else. That means what? From secondary storage or from hard disk, CPU cannot get any data directly. From hard disk, it should move to main memory. Then, if required, it should move to cache. Then it will be moved to CPU. Okay. At the time of running state, there are two possibilities. Okay, of going to other state. One possibility is interrupt. Already we have discussed about interrupts. Interrupt means what? It is running correctly only, but operating system wants some other work to be done immediately. So it is terminating or suspending current process. Okay, listen carefully. There is nothing wrong with the process. Okay, there is nothing wrong with the process. It is executing correctly only, but due to some urgent work or due to some heavy work or due to some precautionary measures, operating system suspends this process. Okay, once the process is getting suspended, again immediately it will be going to ready state because process is not having any requirement. It is a genuine process and working correctly only. Another possibility is due to some requirement of input or output. You may want to print 100 data, or you may want to get or receive input 100 data, or you want to do some arithmetic calculation. You want to execute some loop that may take lot of time. At that time, it will be moved to waiting state. Now, this is having something with the process. Process P1 is requiring something so that it is shifted to wait state. Here, process is not having any problem. So beyond its control, operating system is making the process to be in ready state by suspending that particular process. Here, process itself needs some requirement or some resources. See, for example, process P1 wants to print some 100 data as I told. Okay. So for printing 100 data, what I require? Printer. Suppose printer is not available, what will happen? Okay, think about it. Printer is not available. At present, printer is doing some other work. So what will happen to P1? It will sit idle. CPU sit idle. Memory sit idle. So what we will do? Move P1 to some waiting stage. Okay, you wait for printer. Once the printer is ready, you do the work and come back. Like that, we are telling and move the process to waiting state. Okay, so waiting state, it can go for either input, output requirement or some other reasonable event. From waiting state, it will be coming to ready state once IO is completed or event is completed. Listen carefully. From waiting state, you cannot directly go to running state. That is not possible. So what I already told, from if a process is going to running state, it will be only from ready state. Now after IO is completed, process is ready. So now ready to running state once CPU is free. Once the process is completed successfully, exit and terminate.